guys, and welcome to the channel where we'll be playing out of the park baseball featuring the Oakland Athletics. So in this series we'll be managing the Oakland A's franchise starting with the 2018 season. For those of you who might be wondering what is out of the park baseball, well, I'm here to tell you that this is the #1 baseball simulation computer game in the market. The game is officially licensed by MLB and features all MLB teams, logos, uniforms, and rosters, as well as their minor league affiliates. It also comes with a historical roster database starting from 1871 until 2018 or up to the current year. So no doubt, no question about this team, about this game, and we're excited. This is a new season. We'll be managing the Oakland A's, and we're glad that you guys are watching, and hopefully you'll follow along. Just a couple things I wanted to really mention about this series is that number one, I am not a sports expert by any means. I am just a fan. So mistakes will occur from time to time, and that is okay. Number two, just wanted to mention that we'll be starting this game using the 2018 opening day rosters for the Oakland Athletics. And number three, this is not going to be a copycat replay of the real life team. We plan to actually make all the decisions for the team based on what I think is the best way to help the team. So if you see transactions that don't mirror the real life team, do not be surprised. So what is the purpose, or what is our goal? The goal here is simple. We'll be looking to see how we can improve the team's chances to reach the playoffs, hopefully within the next 3 to 5 seasons. So I know it's a difficult goal, as it seems, especially considering the assets that we have on the team right now. But believing in all things impossible is what we do as fans. So and I know the reality seems bleak, but that's what makes it exciting. So we'll see what we can do and how the team will perform based on the decisions that we make. And you know, whatever happens, it'll be fun. All right, so let's get started. So today we're basically going to spend some time looking at the assets that we have on this team and essentially just assessing the roster. This page that you're looking at right now, this is the team homepage. I'll kind of walk you guys through this page real quick. To the far left, you see you've got your standings, and typically those are the division standings. You'll also have your batting leaders. You'll have your pitching leaders at the same time. And those will start to populate as the season progresses. You have your roster, which shows you your primary lineup and your pitching rotation, as well as your bullpen. And then to the far right, you've got your minor league system. These are all the teams that are in the Oakland A's farm system. And to the far left, you got the upcoming schedule for the at least almost a week. And then you've got your American League rankings, so that will show you how your team is positioned as far as the stats, how they compare to the rest of the league. And then you get a snapshot of your current injuries. These are players who are injured in your active roster. And to the far right, you got your top prospects. So that's this screen in a nutshell. We'll move around a few other tabs. The Players tab just gives you your entire roster for the active roster of the particular team you're looking at right now. You can also select different teams, whether it's within your organization, such as your minor league teams or other teams if you want to check out their player roster. You could switch between the minor league teams by just clicking on that tab. We're not going to focus on that at the moment. The rosters and transactions, this is where it displays all the other rosters in your organization, including your 40-man roster. You can make transactions from here. You can also view certain transactions, such as your players that are designated for assignment. You can also change these tabs to display what you want them to display. So for example, There's many ways of accessing these rosters. You don't have to necessarily do anything from here or work them from here. You can always go directly to that team page. So if you want to just see waivers here, or if you want to see your players that are on your trading block, things like that, you can change things around. You can customize this game so it suits you, and that's an exciting thing. That's something that I like about out of the park games. And we'll quickly just glance over the other tabs. You've got your disable list. You got your minor leagues again, like I mentioned. You got your waivers and players that are on DFA. That's designated for assignment. Players that you outright if you want to get them out of your 40-man roster. You've got your trade status. So you got players that you've got on your trading block, untouchable players, as well as players that you're not interested in. You can also see a playoff roster. So your players that you've called up to utilize them during the playoffs. This is where you'll see them. And then you've got your international complex. These are players that have been discovered by your scouting system. Your scouts are out there finding players internationally, and they will recommend some of the players that you can potentially bring up to your team. They will put them in the international complex. And when you feel like you see a player that may have some potential, you can always go in here and you can move them to any one of your teams. Obviously, the most logical thing is to move them into your rookie leagues and have them start to develop from there. Then you've got your transactions log. This keeps track of all the transactions you make throughout the season for your team. And the next tab at the top there is pitching, where it shows you your entire pitching staff, which will come back and go through each player one at a time. You got your lineups, and it shows you basically all your lineups. You've got the non-DH lineups for when you're facing righties, when you're facing lefties, and then you got your DH lineups when you're facing righties and lefties. You also got your graphical depth chart that gives you a graphical view of your depth, so you can see your starters at the top, and then you've got the depth players that are on the bench that you can utilize to back up your starters when need be. You also have a lineups overview. This screen here kind of just goes over all your lineups, so you can see them in one glance. And then you've got your 7-day lineups, which is something that I utilize. You don't have to. This is just optional. Again, it's just different ways to improve the immersion of the game and also to help you manage things better. I like being able to come here and see a snapshot of my lineups for the next 7 days. And gives me an idea if I need to kind of shift things around and that kind of stuff. You got a strategy tab where your bench coach will usually suggest a strategy. We will address this in the next video, which is sort of our last step before we get ready to start the season. And then you got your front office. This is where you can see things like your owner, your accounting, and your team salaries, any upcoming free agents, your scouting decisions or strategies there. And then you got your personnel and you got player development. So again, we'll kind of touch up on some of those when you take a look at the next, when we make the next video, sorry. So you got your schedule, which shows you a graphical overlay of all the teams that you're scheduled to play for the next season. And then you've got your info page. Right now it's meaningless because there's no data. The season hasn't started, so everything is 0. But when the season is ongoing, you can come here just to glance, get at a glance view of how your team is doing and how they're ranking in your league or in the in the entire league. You also get your specific batting stats and how they're ranking. So for example, your team's batting average and how it ranks in your specific league. So that will be your American league, not the entire league. And then you get your pitching and defense, same thing. So your team's earned run average for your starters can be here, and it will show you how it compares to the rest of your league. The next tabs, we're not going to really go into them because they don't have anything right now, because the season hasn't started. With that said, let's take a look at our pitching stuff. So we'll start off with our ace, who is our number one pitcher in rotation, and that's Sean Manaea. Young fella who has some glimpses of being a very good pitcher. Hasn't fully developed. He's 26 years old. We'll quickly glance at his pitching ratings, so you can look at his stuff there. It's just slightly above average. The movement is average, and his control is just average. He has a decent fastball that can get up to 93 miles per hour. He has a fairly decent slider that can get up to almost elite level. And he also has a changeup that is what I would consider elite level changeup in terms of ratings. So what is that? These numbers here are basically the scouting scales. So they're the ratings being given to you by your scout. I use the 2080 scouting scale, which is what a lot of the MLB teams in real life use, except for maybe a couple or few. There's different options you can select in this game. So you can use the 1 to 100 or 1 to 20 rating scale, or you can use the 20 to 80 and another different option that you have. So I like this particular rating scale because that's the one I'm used to. So yeah. Now, as far as stats, you always want to look at stats to see how your players, pitchers, how they're performing. Manaea last year pitched in 158 innings and 2/3 innings, and he had a 4.37 ERA. I would classify that as just average, because I think league average is not too far from there. It could be probably just slightly above this. So not really stellar, but he had a pretty good 2016 where he went 144 and 2/3 innings and had a 3.86 ERA. So his WAR has improved, though. He's got 2.4 WAR compared to basically other pitchers, especially in our organization. So for now, he is our ace, and we'll trust that he will live up to that. But if he doesn't, then we'll have some decisions to make. Let's quickly take a look at his contract. So you can see we're still paying him the minimum, which is a bonus for us. We still have 3 years of option years on him. He's got 5 years as a pro and 1 year in the majors. So all in all, a cost-effective option for us, which is pretty good. Number 2 on the starting on the rotation is Kendall Graveman, who is another pitcher who's been with the A's for some time. He's basically, in my opinion, a pitcher who just tends to always, at the end of the day, give you just average performance. He's a ground ball pitcher. He's got okay stuff, nothing. I'd say okay mechanics. His stuff is actually less than average, which is not good. He's got just average movement and good control. He has a good sinker and a good cutter. His curveball, not the greatest. Changeup, well, just average. You could see his stats here. Last year, 105 and 1/3 innings and had a 4.19 ERA. His ERA plus is 1.03. His the batting average, independent of the defense there, 0.313. So he's got a 1.3 wall. Nothing really outstanding, but considering his experience, he can still give you 5 to 6 innings without giving up the entire show. So he's at the moment going to stay as our number 2, but with some question marks. So let's look at his contract. He's got 1 year on his contract, which is this year, making $2.3 million. So we have some decisions to make, whether we're going to keep him on board or what we're going to do with Kenneth Graven. At number 3, Daniel Mengden. If you'd asked me sometime at the beginning of last year, I probably would not have elected Mengden to be a number 3 starting pitcher. But towards the end of the season last year, he got called up to Oakland, and he went 43 innings and had a 3.14 ERA. So momentum. He's a young guy, 25 years old. He has just okay mechanics. His stuff is just average. Doesn't have a lot of movement to his pitches, but he has a good fastball. He has a good curveball, a good slide, and a good changeup. So he has the makings of a decent starting pitcher. And based on the way he finished last year, the momentum that he had, definitely feel confident giving him the chance at number 3. Lovely. We're only paying him the minimum. He's a young guy. He hasn't had an entire year in the playing for MLB, but he's had 4 years as a pro. So we still have one option left on him, because I guess we've used up a few. So I'd say just an average option at number 2 and an average option at number 3. Now, the decisions I'm making it also, you have to factor in, we do have some other players who are on the DL that have caused me to make sort of the changes that I've made, or at least to have the rotation that I have. Anyway, at number 4, Andrew Triggs. Andrew Triggs is an interesting pitcher. He's got good abilities. Mechanics are decent, just slightly above average for his stuff. Just average movement on his pitches, but he's got slightly above average control. Another pitcher who always gives you basically average level performance. In 2 years, 2016 and 2017, his ERA has been just around 4.3 and just slightly below that. Last year he had 65 and 1/3 innings. His whip slightly high at 1.33, and his WAR at 0.07. That was a consideration to keeping him at number 4. I could have easily just promoted him to number 3, starting the rotation, but we're going to have him kind of earn that position and see how he plays out. Financially, we're paying him the league minimum, so we can't complain too much, and I think we still have 2 more options on him. So just average, sort of middle of the road kind of guy, but I mean, as far as performance is concerned, but you know, he can still pitch in the major leagues, so that's what's important, and at a cost that is that works for, you know, our finances. Number 5, Chris Bassett. This is a guy who, for quite a few years there, always had the potential, and injuries derailed him quite a bit. He's healthy now, so we're giving him a chance. He's 29 years old, made his major league debut in 2014 playing for the White Sox. He pitched 29 and 2/3 innings, went 3.94 ERA. His next debut at the majors was with Oakland in 2015. He went 86 innings and had a 3.56 ERA. So you could see the potential was always there. He got injured sometime between 2015 and 2016, kept going in and out of the DL. I believe he went through Tommy John at some point, and now he's healthy, so we're hoping that, you know, we can still get the old Bassett prior to injuries, who really showed some very decent ability. So at number 5, I'm really not concerned with him there. But we'll wait and see. Again, this is another guy that we're only paying him the league average, and I still have one more option on him, so not complaining at all. All right, that's basically it for our starting rotation. Now the bullpen, this is a part of my pitching that I'm a bit excited about. I do have concerns when it comes to the starting rotation, but for the bullpen, I am a bit optimistic, only because we've brought in a few guys. In fact, we brought in a lot of players for our bullpen. You can see Blake. He was traded to Oakland last year, together with pitcher Jesus Luzardo and third baseman Sheldon Noose. In exchange, we gave up Ryan Madsen and Sean Doolittle. What are we getting with Blake? Well, we're getting pretty good pitching ratings. His stuff is plus. His movement definitely plus. He's got average control, plus average fastball, sinker, slider, and just average and changeup. His ratings, you can see, max out. His velocity can get 96 to 98 miles per hour. Let's take a look at his stats. Innings pitched last year for Oakland was 38 innings and only recorded a 2.13 ERA, which is outstanding. Yes, I know that's a small sample, but this is a relief pitcher and our closer, so he's not gonna pitch 300 innings in relief, trust me. So his whip was fairly low. Strikeout ratio just 9.9 for 9 innings. So very excited about Blake, having him as our closer. Liam Hendricks is up next, who's our setup man, who will bring him mostly during the 8th inning. He can also fill in for a closer. Again, look at his mechanics. The stuff is just amazing. He's got elite stuff. Movement is just average, and control can struggle with his control, but he's got an elite fastball that can top up at around 95 miles per hour, plus curveball, elite slider, and a plus changeup. So you're not going to be too concerned having a guy with that ability as your setup man. And look at his career. He's pitched really well. He's played for several teams, including the Royals, the Toronto, and finally joined the A's back in 2016. So glad to have him there. Actually, let's just quickly glance at how much it's costing us to have Liam. Look at that, 1.9 million. No options, but definitely a capable guy. Emilio Pagan is new to Oakland. He joined us last year via trade from the Mariners, where he came along with the shortstop Alexander Campos. We gave up Ryan Haley, who is a stud in my opinion, but we picked up Emilio, who so far throughout his career, which mostly has been in the minors, has pitched well. He got called up to the majors last year, had 50 and 1/3 innings, had a 3.22 ERA, which is really good, kept his walks down to a minimum. He has elite stuff there. He's got just average movement on his pitches, but he has a plus average fastball that can top up at 93 to 95 miles per hour. He's got an elite level rating slider and just above average changeup. Again, we've got a 1 year on him at the league minimum there. So, and 2 options left. Nothing but upside for us. Not a bad deal at all. So Emilio will be there as our setup man as well, somewhere around the eighth, seventh inning if need be, which is great. And then we've got Yasmero Petit, also another player who just recently joined Oakland. He was a free agent by the end of the year last year and was picked up by Oakland. Previous to that, he had played for Los Angeles. Let's look at his ratings there. You can see he's got currently just above average stuff, which can potentially get up to just a pass average. But he's 33 years old, so I'm not too sure whether he has a lot more development left to do. His movement is not the best, but he has very good control. He has a fastball that's not really lightning fast. I mean, he can get it up to 91 miles per hour, which is just average. A cutter that is also average. A fastball that's not too exciting, but just okay. But a changeup that is lightning. So if he can use that to his advantage, he can get some strikeouts. As you can see, his stats here. If we quickly look at his strikeouts to per 9 innings, 10, which is good. He's got 2.76 ERA while playing for the Angels last year after pitching 91 and 1/3 innings. So when you combine that and when you look at what we're spending on him, really, it's not a lot. 3.5 for this year, or this coming season, and then 5.5 million in 2018, then a team option in 2020. So that's not too bad. So he's our mid-relief pitcher. Santiago Casilla, also mid-relief, 37 years old. Don't know how much more he's got left to go, but he's had a decent career. Mostly always played as a reliever. Spent a lot of time with San Francisco as a reliever. At times has been utilized as a closer. I'm not too sure if we'll get to do that, considering his ratings have gone down over the years, but he still has a decent fastball, fairly good curveball, and just a decent slider and a decent changeup. His stuff is still there, plus average, but his movement and control can become a problem at times. Let's look at what we're spending on him. He's got basically one more year left, which is this season at 5.5 million. Again, not too worried about that, to be honest. Next is another middle relief pitcher, Chris Hatcher, and also another newcomer to the team. He was traded last year from the Dodgers in exchange for international bonus money. So that we didn't give up any player. We just gave up a little bit of cash. The Dodgers didn't need him. We saw some use in him in mid-relief. He came in towards the half of the year, pitched about 23 innings and had a 3.52 ERA. Didn't strike out a lot of batters, but he has the potential considering the kind of pitches he has. If you look at his mechanics, nothing outstanding. I mean, just a plus average stuff, and then movement is a struggle there. His pitches don't move a lot, but he has just average control. Fastball, elite, can top up to 96 miles per hour. He's got just a average slider, but a decent splitter. So that splitter there, I'm thinking you should be striking out a lot of guys with that, especially when it's rated as a plus average. You should be able to get some swings and misses. So what are we spending on this guy? So we've got just 2.2 million if you round that up. No options left. He's 33 years old. Got 1 year on contract with us, so we'll see how he plays out. And then last on our pitching staff is Ryan Butcher. I'm excited about Ryan. For one, he is our only lefty in the bullpen, Not a good sign when we only have one lefty, but I think we'll manage. So he'll act as our specialist, or the lefty specialist, who can come in to challenge when we need to play out on our matchups against lefties. We also just recently got Ryan Butcher. He was traded by the Royals to Oakland, together with Brandon Moss, and we gave up $3.2 million in exchange. We gave up two prospects there, Heath Fillmeyer and Jesse Hunn, to get essentially Ryan Butcher, because Brandon Moss did not last very long with the team. He was released earlier this year, so no longer with the team. So I couldn't understand why he was part of this deal. I know he did play for us for Oakland a few years back, but it was not a grandeur farewell on Brandon Moss. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is our pitching stuff. To summarize, I have some concerns or question marks with our starting rotation. We've got 2 days to opening day. You can see the date here. It is only March 27th. Opening day is March 29th. Could still move this rotation around a little bit, but we're set with the players that are actually in there. So it could just be moving them up rank wise, but not really demoting anybody prior to opening day. I am positive, or at least more confident with my bullpen, so that's really a good thing. With that, let us move over to our position players. So first thing you'll notice is that we are in a DH league. So the way this game is set up, which is awesome, if you hit that button there for lineups, it basically automatically defaults to your most common used lineup. So for us, we're in the DH league. This is our most common lineup. Typically, there's a lot more right-handed pitchers out there, so we're usually facing more right-handed pitchers in the DH league. So this is the primary lineup. But while you're here, you can always adjust any of the lineups, and not just the lineups, but also your depth. So let's get going. We've got a catcher on our team that we're excited about. He's amongst our top players rating wise, Jonathan Lucroy. He just recently joined the team when he became a free agent last year, towards the I think it was just the beginning of last year. Towards the end of last year, became a free agent. We signed him, and we can see his stats. Jonathan makes good contact with the bat. He doesn't have a lot of home run power, but has good gap power. You can see it there in the stats. He can get extra base hits, and he can also get on base. So look at that, 4.29 ERA. I know that's just from 144 plate appearances, but that's still a fairly decent on base percentage. The previous team he played for, which was Texas, he didn't really do that well with them. I don't know what it was. Maybe didn't like being there, but you can see all the other years before, Lucroy has always been able to make good contact with the ball, and he's always been able to get on base. Got a 1.2 WAR. We're excited about that. He's got 1 year with Oakland at $6.5 million. So for our starter, we are set with him. We're happy to have him. And the backup for our starter is Bruce Maxwell. Bruce spent some time in our minor league system. He's shown at moment occasionally bright spots, and then sometimes he just kind of bottoms out. He's 27 years old. He's an emotional player, but he has a good arm as a catcher. He has a very decent arm, the type that we hope can get a lot of guys out who are trying to steal bases. We don't really expect a whole lot as far as offensive production, but we expect him to do a decent job at the catching position. If he can do that, we are satisfied. He's got a .07 WAR, so we will start him out as a backup catcher. We do have another option readily available in our DL, and we'll kind of talk about that a little bit later. So first base, we've got Matt Olson, who is an exciting player. You can see the power there, home run power, elite. Young guy, 23 years old, made his debut in 2016. Didn't perform very well. Of course, it was his first time. Only had 21 plate appearances, at bats, which is quite low, but hey. He came back to the majors in 2017, had 216 plate appearances, and he managed to hit for average, got on base quite often at 3.52, and the most exciting thing though was he clocked 24 home runs, which was awesome. And the same year he also clocked 23 home runs while playing for AAA Nashville. So awesome power. Got a lot of potential, so he still has a long ways to go. At 23 years old, we are paying him league minimum. We've still got 2 options on him, so nothing but upside here. We're excited about him as our first base. He's not the most athletic guy, and that's why we've got him there in first base, but he can produce offensively. Backing him up in first base will be Mark Canner. Mark Canner is a decent player, it's just middle of the road, inconsistent. So he spent some time back and forth between minor leagues and in the majors. Hasn't really done any one particular thing outstandingly, if I'll put it that way. But he's a good backup because he can play multiple positions. He's tall. He's got some power, even though it just has not materialized that way. He's a guy who his rating now is just average for home runs, but he's got decent gap power, but hasn't been connecting with the bat very often. But as a person who can play first base, third, left, and right field, he does add some versatility to the team, a decent option at times, even as a pinch hitter. So we're going to keep him on. He'll be a backup for first base. He will also be a third depth for our left field. See what we're spending on him. League minimum. So, and we got 2 options on him, which is excellent. The second base, Jet Lowry. This is one of our top players, even though the ratings may not display that. Jet Lowry will always make good contact with the ball. He gets on base frequently. He has decent gap power. As you can see, he can hit a lot of extra base hits. Last year, he had 49. He also delivered 69 RBIs and 73 walks. So he is a switch hitter, which is another exciting feature about Jet Lowry. He can also play multiple positions, second base, third base, and shortstop. So all in all, you look at that package, he has just decent, just average contact, but he makes really good contact with the ball. He has decent plus average gap power. He has a good eye. He can avoid strikeouts. Just can hit home runs as much, but yet he still had 14 home runs last year. So all that's just bonus. And we look at him right now as a team veteran who can kind of act as an anchor for this young lineup that we have on our team. As a backup, we've got Chad Pinder. Chad Pinder, 25 years old, extremely versatile. You can see he can play virtually every position on a baseball field. He can be a second baseman, third baseman, shortstop, left field, center field, and right field. Yes, he's not the greatest in third, left, center, or even right field, but he's athletic that he can actually be a backup in case we have injuries and other concerns where we need to fill up positions. His ratings are just average, right down the barrel, nothing outstanding. He's supposed to have some home run power, just slightly above average. He had 15 home runs last year in 309 plate appearances, a measly 239 batting average. Didn't get on base as often, so not really exciting, but he can play other roles, so he can be even a platoon in some areas, especially if we need him for third base or shortstop. And then we've got third base, Matt Chapman, who is another very good player, 24 years old. Just recently made his debut with Oakland, 2017. Had 326 plate appearances. Not the greatest batting average, 234, but he's got a lot of power. You can see he only had 14 home runs, but the potential is there. You could see for his potential rating, he can get up to elite level rating for his batting power, home run power. 1.3 WAR, which is not too bad. And again, just making league average. So ratings and his potential is exciting. He's a very athletic third baseman. He has a good arm. So we're excited to have him there in third base. Backup, Chad Pinder. Marcus Semien will be the shortstop. This is a guy who's struggled quite a bit over the last few years in defense. He committed too many errors. The team brought up Ron Washington, the former skipper of the Texas Rangers, to kind of work with him. And we saw some improvements, and which was a good sign. So he's improved quite a bit on his defense. He's a guy who also has some power. You can see he's got gap power and also home run power that's slightly above average. He's mainly a shortstop who's also athletic. He's good at base running and also stealing, but he struggles at times making contact. He got injured last year, so he wasn't as effective, but we're hoping if he stays healthy this year, he definitely can be a good offensive contributor. And backing him up is still Chad Pinder. And then we move out to our outfield. Left field, we got Crush Davis to call him. He's essentially probably the best offensive producer for this team. That makes him the best player for this team. I can tell you right off the bat, he's not going to hit for average, but he will hit home runs. He had 43 last year, 110 RBIs, had 42 home runs the previous year, and 102 RBIs in 2016. So you could see his contact there is just average. Gap power is average. Discipline is average. He does strike out quite a bit, but he can make contact, and he can drive balls out of the park. He's also another free agent, making $10.5 million for the 2018 season. So we'll try to see what we can do. If we want to extend his contract, we'll have to really consider how he's performing. He's only 30 years old. I mean, he's getting up there with age, but I think we can get another maybe 2 years out of him. The backup there should go back to his backup in left field will be Jake Smolinski, and Smolinski will basically be our depth for the entire outfield. Just average contact, above average gap power, and just average home run power. We've expected to see a lot more when it comes to home runs and extra base hits, but he just it hasn't materialized that way. He can hit for average at times. He had 29 plate appearances last year for Oakland and just hit 259. Doesn't get on base as often, so he is just an okay backup. But if we don't see a lot of offensive production out of him, then we may have to make some moves. He's 29 years old, so there's really not a lot of room for development left in him. But for now, we'll keep him as a backup and kind of just see how he plays out. So center field will be Herschel Powell, also known as Boog Powell. This is another guy who came to Oakland from Seattle. We traded Yonder Alonso for Boog Powell. Yonder was a good first baseman who had a lot of power. He bats left. Boog Powell just seems to be just an average contact hitter. His ratings show that he's less than average. Gap power and home run power all below average. Don't know what to expect from him. His stats, he had 92 plate appearances last year for Oakland after the trade, and he batted .321, got on base .380. He's athletic, got good speed. He can play left, center, and right field. And we've got him right now under the league minimum, so not a complaint if he can produce and still earn that little. then we're not gonna complain much. But it's a guy I'm gonna watch. We'll see if he can continue to perform well in center field. If he can, then well and good. If not, then we may have to upgrade that position. Right field is Steven Piscotty. This is another guy who came to us, I believe, from St. Louis last year. We gave up two prospects, Max Schrock, and who's a second baseman, and a shortstop, Yairo Munoz, in exchange for Steven Piscotty. Again, I'm not too sure what to make of him. He had 401 plate appearances, so that's almost a full season, and only batted .235. He kind of got on base a lot better than some of the guys we have in the lineup, but there's really nothing else that stands out about him. His ratings say that he has gap power and he's got home run above average power, but it just didn't show up on his stats. And when I look at his stats going back to 2015, that seemed to have been his best year there in 2015, and then 2016 he looks like had some very good numbers, 85 RBIs, batted .273, and that's while he was still playing for St. Louis. And then I'm not sure what happened after that. So ratings, it looks fairly decent compared to, again, some of the other players that we have. So maybe there's an upside to him that hasn't shown up, and we'll wait to see if that does show up. But for now, this is another guy that we're just going to keep an eye on him and see how well he performs. I should probably just take a look at his contract. This is another thing that just doesn't really excite me. We signed him for 7 years, or at least we picked him up with a 7-year contract. He's not making a whole ton of money per year, but it's still a long contract. The final contract, he has a potential to make 15 mil in 2023, but it's got a team option, which is good. But 6 years, I don't like keeping guys on extended contracts. I think 3-4 years should be max, but that's what's on the table. That's what he signed on for. So we'll have to just see how that plays out. And lastly, on DH, we've got Matt Joyce. I like Matt Joyce because he does produce offensively. He's not going to hit for average. As you can see, his batting average is 243, just 242 the year before. But look at the RBIs. 68 for a guy who had 544 plate appearances. With his level of ratings, just less than average in contact, but he somehow can get those extra base hits, which is awesome. And he also can hit home runs. So A 2.2 WAR is not bad. He can play left and right field. We've got him in DH at the moment because he can knock in 25 home runs, but we'll try and see. He could alternate with Chris Davis. I could put Chris Davis as a DH and have Matt Joyce batting left. They're both right. Oh, he's a lefty, so again, that could be helpful when we need to do strategizing with our matchups. So that will be a good option between him and Chris Davis. But that's basically it for position players. We basically have Mark Canner, Pinder, Smolinski, and Bruce Maxwell as our pinch hitters. And in a nutshell, that's who we've got to start the season. I don't see myself making too many changes. So if we look at who we have on the DL, we've got 3 starting pitchers on the DL. Paul Blackburn, 24 years old, has had some really decent stats. I mean, look at since 2012, he has not had an ERA over 400, over 4, which is outstanding. So he had 58 innings pitched last year for Oakland. He had 3.22 ERA. Doesn't strike out a whole ton of guys, but he is a crafty pitcher. He only has 3 pitches. He's got a sinker that's just average, an average curveball, and a bit less than average changeup. But he somehow gets the outs, and that's all you can ask. So, and given his age, he's only 24 years old. He's got 3 weeks left on the DL, so he may give us an option as far as our starting lineup, as well as Trevor Cahill, who's also got 3 weeks left on the DL. Trevor is currently making his second chance with, basically he's got a second chance with Oakland. He used to pitch for Oakland back in the day. He in fact was drafted by Oakland back in 2006 and was traded around to Arizona back in 2011 and got bounced around from different teams, went into free agency multiple times, and then finally he was a free agent last year and we picked him up. So this is his second round with the team. His last time out with the Royals, he kind of struggled a bit there in just 23 innings, but also had a decent time pitching for the Padres, where he pitched 61 innings and had a 3.69 ERA. So he does give us another option in as a starting pitcher for our rotation. He's got 3 weeks left on his DL. Jarrell Cotton is out for the season, so we don't expect to see him at all in 2018. Ryan Dull is another decent option in our relief, in our bullpen. He's got 2 weeks left on the DL. Josh Fegley, he's another option that we have for catcher, mainly as a backup, and he's got 3 weeks left on the DL. So we'll see after 3 weeks if Bruce Maxwell is not really working out, then maybe Josh can fill in. And then we've got Renato Nunez. This is a prospect who got called up in 2016, didn't do that well, got sent back to AAA Nashville, and then got called up again last year. Again, struggled a bit, and then he got injured, went on the DL as the season was ending. So we may have to probably send him back down and kind of just watch his development. But he has the capability to be a decent player, an outfielder. And then the rest of the players here, these are players who are currently on our disabled list, but for the minor league system. So we're not going to spend too much time looking at these players for now. We'll probably review our minor league system during the next video, but I'll point out AJ Puck, who's also out for the rest of the season. He's one of our decent prospects. In fact, he's one of our top prospects, but he's out for the entire 2018 season. So there you have it. That is the Oakland A's as they're positioned to start the 2018 season. We'll probably review our minor league system on the next video, check out our strategy, like I said, the front office, and a few other housekeeping stuff, and then we will prep to start the season. So thanks guys for watching, and we hope to see you on our next video.